As we noted in a previous video, it is often helpful to create a frequency table to organize our information that we've collected. We don't want to have just this big old list of information and no organization to it. We'll group together everything that's alike and then count how many we have and put it on a frequency table. That's great if I'm looking at things like A, B, C, D, F grades. There's only 5 different categories. But in this particular example, we're collecting the weights of 100 male subjects for a nutrition study. That could be actually 100 different weights, probably not, but it's going to be a whole bunch of different numbers. And I don't want to have a giant frequency table. So instead what we do is we set up what we call class intervals. Those are just groupings of data. So when you have a wide range of data, let's group them up so that our table doesn't get overwhelming. The one important thing about these classes, though, is you have to make sure that you keep them the exact same size. If you're going to use increments of 5, great. Increments of 10, fine. Whatever the case is, just be consistent throughout the entire data. And you don't have to start with your first data point. For example, in this frequency table, you see the interval starts at 120 to 134. That doesn't necessarily mean that someone had a weight of 120. We could have had a lowest weight of 122. But we wanted to start with a nice kind of round number, a nice number. And so that can vary. We just know that between 120 and 134, we had 4 individuals in that category. The 135 to 149, we had 14, and so on. Okay, and as we did before, we sometimes take that table and make it a more visual image. And let's see if you remember what the name of this thing's called. The bottom is a number line, and the bars themselves are close together. So it's a histogram. All right, so it's a histogram, and you notice that I have the start of each class as the markers on the bottom, and they're equally spaced. So between 120 up to the 135, technically that's the 120 to 134 interval. We see just under 5, that's 4, right? From the 135 to the 150, it's almost at 15, but we know from the chart it's 14, and so on. And it's very obvious from this picture that the biggest bar here is between the 165 and 180. 179, and exactly how much that is, we'd kind of have to guesstimate, but we have the chart over here that tells us it was 28. Okay, so use classes, intervals, when you have a whole bunch of data and it's just too much for a chart to do individual categories. There is another way that we could represent this. It's called a frequency polygon. Okay, it sounds kind of complicated, but it's really not. You take that histogram picture and you just find the midpoint of each of those bars. So I have little red dots there for each of the midpoints. And you connect the dots with a line. That's it. And most often you will remove those bars from it so that all you see is the line. And that is a frequency polygon. It's nice because it kind of shows you the trend. But it's not quite as obvious maybe what the classes are when you see it this way. So it just depends on what your point is for sharing the data, and maybe you want to share both because they both offer something. Let me know if you have questions.